Okay, so today we have Charlotte Holroyd in with us from Creative Wilderness. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, James. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So you own a business called Creative Wilderness. What does that do?
What does that do? What do I do? I suppose I would say it's a nature-inspired branding and design studio, very much specialised in working with purpose-led businesses, with a focus on ethical and sustainable branding.
Okay. Oh, okay. There's questions there, isn't
there?
Yeah. I suppose I've always wondered what sustainable branding would
involve.
Yeah. What does it mean?
What does it mean? That is a long question, but I think ultimately it's looking at the impact your brand has on the world. Okay. So immediately people often jump to the way things are printed. Do you need to get things printed? So can we think of clever ways of communicating your brand without harming the planet? Everything you send out, is there a way of making that have less impact? So what is your carbon impact on it as well? But then there's a bigger thing. So what does your brand communicate to the world? So you can look at your photography, is that ethical? Is it diverse? Or are you just showing white people all the time? That's kind of part of the ethics. The way you market and brand as well is that, forcing people to consume unnecessarily, just chasing endless growth. So there's a lot of ways about being sustainable, from the actual physical products that you're sending out, your website as well, how much carbon your website produces, all that type of stuff. So it's got, I think at the start, I was working with product-based brands. Yeah. So it was a lot more about, how can we make sure the packaging's compostable? We don't want to print that. Okay, what type of stuff can we put in this? A bit more plastic free, that type of thing. But now it's gone bigger, and it's looking about your suppliers and how you can be a bit more circular and that type of thing. Yeah.
Of course, we first met at the Manchester Growth Hub.
Yep.
And we had Sean Sankey on a few weeks back talking about what he does, and it was an incredible few sessions, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
A few months with those guys. How did you get into it?
Oh, that is a long story. Yeah, so originally I was a musician and I trained as a musician. Yeah. But I remember also really loving designing the posters. Okay. So there was a bit of design going on there. And then I realised being a full-time musician wasn't quite for me, and I realised I didn't have that obsession that people that I was studying with had. So I got a job at a newspaper, and then managed to get into the advert design part. Yeah. Then I ran a zine with a couple of friends in Manchester in the days of zines. And,
what's a zine?
It's kind of like an independent magazine, I suppose. So we used to have illustrators on, and we'd write about stuff, and we'd have articles around. We did talk about the planet and things. Yeah. And then I managed to get a job at an advertising agency from kind of doing that, and so I was quite self-taught. Yeah. Worked at advertising agencies, did a bit of teaching, then went freelance, and then I started my business. Yeah. And I think I just wanted to bring everything that I was passionate about into my business. So when I was working at agencies, I was always trying to get people to turn the computers off and not waste energy. And so I always cared about the planet. And I thought, well, when I start my own business, I want to bring that in, and I want to work with other businesses that are aligned with me. So even though I'm not doing a traditional kind of product-based business that can be sustainable, I wanted to use what I do, my skills, to make the world a better place in some way I could possible. So that's kind of what I started doing.
See, you work for some quite big agencies as well, so McCann and The Hut, and it became big like that, really, didn't they? It must be very different working for a bigger agency than it is for yourself or for smaller ones.
Interestingly, I remember working at agencies, and you never spoke to the client. There was always a account handler, and so you'd come up with these ideas, and then the account handler would be like, no, I'm not sending this to the client. So it was sometimes frustrating as a creative, because sometimes you'd be like, just take a risk, show it to the client. So when I started my own business, I wasn't sure how I would. Because there's always clients are bad at agencies. But I've had such a different approach, and I try and think of it as really collaborative with clients. And I've kind of developed an approach where we don't need amends, because we've really gone into the strategy. So it has been very different, but I love it, and I love actually it's like the only job I've not wanted to quit, working for myself, because I think I've really enjoyed doing all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
And it's been the biggest growth ever, running your own business, like the biggest challenge. You don't need therapy, just run your own business.
I think with clients sometimes, especially in the design world or creative world, they have an idea of what they want, but it might not be the best thing for them. And if you can put that to them, they think, oh, actually, that's much better. Let's go with that. Or, I like, perhaps we could go a bit more that way, or vice versa. And having that connection with the client is really important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've put in a bit of an innovative approach. So I take clients out into nature, and we do like a brand strategy workshop out in nature. And that's all tied into the ethicalness, is that the word? And sustainability side as well, because we forget, like, we're all connected to nature in some way. And if we remind ourselves of that when we're starting our business and building our brand, we'll make more informed decisions that are actually going to care about the planet a little bit more. But not only that, I think you get more in tune with your inner vision as a business owner, and you're not really doing what you think you should be, what's chasing success unnecessarily. So when I've taken them out into nature, it's been amazing. And we do sort of like quite a lot of activities outdoors. And people go, wow, I didn't even know that's what I wanted my business to be all about. Or I didn't know that in 5 years I wanted to do that. So I use all that, and then you're designing and performing a brand from a much deeper place than, I've just seen this online and I quite like it. And I think this is what I'm meant to be doing. So that bit of it really fascinates me. And I suppose before I was just designing at agencies, but I've loved kind of going into the strategy and the real why behind why you're making a decision. And bringing someone's vision to life, it's like a real joy of mine to help them with that.
Everyone they've had on, from sales to marketing to copywriting, they've all said it's really important to really delve deeply into what you do and why, because that's what sells to people. That's the important thing. And obviously movement and walking about and being outside, probably people talk more than they would do in a more office-based environment. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the different environments. So I'll kind of choose different environments for different business owners as well. Okay. So if they want to be brave and you think like they need, you'd maybe go up a hill or a mountain. But if they're like very overwhelmed and kind of not quite sure, going into like a forest or something that's very enclosed can really impact on your thinking. And it is amazing going out. I mean, my business is inspired, my name is from how my inspiration comes out in the wilderness. Right. And when I form brands, I don't do it sat in front of a screen. I'll go out for a walk, I'll take my iPad and sketch and do things like that. And again, it just means that you're, tuning into that inner creativity. And I think that's where the magic happens, as opposed to just copying what anyone else has done. And I think we all need a bit more originality, and we like seeing different stuff. We want to see something that's like, wow, this is individual and iconic. I don't want to just see it. I've seen it on Pinterest 100 times before.
I mean, we always say that you're kind of not competing against other good stuff. You're probably competing against other average stuff, especially in the AI world at the moment with content. It tends to be, if you can create something that's natural and human created, that is really good, that engages people, then there's no competition. And sometimes with a brand, I think that's comes out as well.
Definitely. I mean, I think the brands I love they're probably a bit rebellious, but in their own quiet way. But and that's what I always encourage people I work with is less, all right, what do people want? Let's make that for what the people want. It's like, you've got to understand your market and your customers. Sure. But I think you've also got to have like this unique personality, and you want to form that and people come to you. So when I build brand, it is about attracting people to you, as opposed to like having to go out and shout and like, come and find me. I think it is. It's that like being your own thing, so that you don't really have any competition. And actually, that deep thinking and that strategy kind of ties into it all.
Sure. When you're thinking about running a business, and making that step to go on your own, was it a difficult decision for you?
Do you know what? It wasn't, because I'd been a musician before, so I suppose you're not quite self-employed, but you're having to go out and perform and
like a freelance style thing.
Yeah, so I'd already done a bit of that before, and I did like a car washing business when I was 10. So I had my own business cards, and my dad had his own. So for me, it was a bit scary, but I think I transitioned from freelance to business, so it was all like a halfway step. I mean, the first year is just a roller coaster, isn't it? I just can't remember it, to be honest. I feel like you're like, whoa. But I just felt alive. And I thought this is something that's really excited me. And I think anything that I struggled with, like sales, I found quite hard.
Right.
But I think if you have that in accounts, but I think I just thought I'm going to get better at this and try and improve it, and that type of thing. So I recognise maybe those areas I find difficult. But I love the kind of challenge of running a business, and it just keeps my mind active, and I get quite bored easily. So I think,
that feeling of getting your first client, you're like, oh, this is my client. And they're paying me to do this. This is amazing. Were there, that first year, do you remember what the kind of main challenges for you were?
I think at the start, as a designer, you don't value your worth.
Right.
And you probably don't have great boundaries. I didn't, maybe, you'd want to please the client so much, but actually you would be maybe scared of going, actually, you know what, this isn't the best decision for you. So I think at the first year, there was definitely a bit of that. But charging enough, I think you definitely don't charge enough money in your first year. You look back and think, gosh, I can't believe I did it so cheap. That type of thing. And just confidence and belief, because it's completely new. So I think I just told myself, like, gosh, imagine your first year at a job, you're not going to expect yourself to be really, really good at everything. No. So I gave myself that kind of, thing. And I think switching off, I remember going to Christmas, and I think I just slept for a whole week, because you're just kind of working, not like I was doing long hours, but I think your brain's on it all the time, thinking about it, thinking like of ideas. And so I think switching off was a bit more of a challenge. So to get a camper van.
I mean, I don't mind working outside hours. It's a funny thing, I don't find any stress when I'm running a business. With my business, with working outside hours, because I think, well, it's mine. I like doing it, and if I have to, then I would do occasionally. But there is a moment where you go, actually, I do need to just step away for a little bit, just to, relax the brain.
And I'm sort of not someone who needs to. I don't work well working very, very long hours. So I feel like, and my creativity is what people are coming for. So I almost have to protect that a bit. And I know for a fact, having regular holidays and going out and just completely switching off refuels me, and I come up with much better ideas when I do have that balance. And I think I work very intensely, and then it's almost like my brain needs a little rest. So I think it's just knowing who you are as a person. And I think that's what I've loved about having a business, is to know, like, I'm not here to sit 9 to 5 at a desk. I need to go and walk. I need to come up with ideas. I might need to go for a run. So it's been able to work in a different way and, craft it to suit who I am as a person.
I keep saying to Nathan, copywriter, get out. If the sun's out, get outside and walk, because I often think if you kind of reminded me of it there, where if you're in a creative job, you got to be creative, but you need your brain to be working to be creative, and then that's a different mindset to just working all the time, and it will stunt the creativity, I'm sure.
Definitely. I mean, agencies have amazing offices. Right. They have loads of things like pool tables, table tennis, and because they know by doing that, they're not stupid. They're not just doing that for, they know the fact that if you nurture creativity, it flies. And I think that is the difference. I think a lot of people forget, like, as a creative, it's a lot different. It's not about how many hours you do, it's getting that flash of inspiration. So you can maybe come up with something amazing in an hour that might take a whole week if you just started the thing. So I'm more about like encouraging that flash of inspiration and that kind of genius thought. It's like, I suppose when people write a song, like, they sometimes just like come up with it straight away. And I think it's like, it's not about the time, it's about what you deliver. I think that's really important.
Do you, well, obviously we know Georgie records this, as I have to bring him in occasionally to a music degree. You've got a music degree. I know that there's lots of other creatives that actually have a music background, and you spoke before about maybe it helps that kind of creativity. Music in general, whether it's patterns in the brain or having to, I don't know, improvise and stuff like that.
Definitely. I'm sure I read that it was like Apple or somewhere would employ musicians for programmers, as opposed to someone who'd done a more science, maths-based degree.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't quote me on that because I'm not great with voice.
I'll go with that. I like it.
But because your brain, because you're used to thinking differently, and I did a lot of improvisation, and I think that's helped with because people say, how do you ever always come up with ideas? And that is, it's just I think when you improvise, you're just kind of in touch with coming up with an idea and performing under pressure and sort of knowing, just formulating those ideas quickly.
Do you think that gives you a bit of inner confidence to run a business?
I think so, because if you stood up and performed, it's scary. It's very scary. So I think, I think it's more that you're used to handling nerves. So of course you get nervous, but when you stood up and you have to perform and still be feeling nervous, but also do a really good performance, I think it really helps as a business owner, because then you don't freeze under the pressure. You kind of, I feel like I work well under pressure, so it's like, but I'm like, okay, right, So I think it helps definitely with confidence and creativity, and also being a bit rebellious. So I played in bands, so I think that's maybe inspired that as bands you weren't kind of going like quick come to my gig, like you want to bring people in and get a bit of a buzz around it. So that kind of approach always fascinated me as well.
You're always thinking, well, how can we get people here? What's
interesting? What's going to draw them? And I suppose in a way, musicians brand themselves in some way. They choose what clothes they wear. They look at who they want to attract, and that type of thing. So it's all involved.
When in my last proper job, I worked alongside the marketing team, and they were completely rebranding the whole business. And I was at the time, I had no real concept of. For me, it was, marketing is just another part of the business, and I had no real concept of how much it affected internally, how people worked, what their principles were, the business, and then externally, how you conveyed that message to clients or the industry or whatever. And I'm sure there's a question here with that, but I think people miss the importance of branding and how that reflects the whole business and how you can carry that through and give it all direction.
Yeah, it totally, I like to think of it like ripples out. So you kind of put it out and you think, okay, I've got this brand, but you don't realise how subtly it influences everything. And for instance, you could have a massive marketing budget, but if you haven't got a really strong idea or a really strong brand, you'd just be throwing it away because it's just going to be kind of noise. So it's really... this isn't my phrase, I think I've stolen it from someone, but if you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. So it's really like understanding, what is your mission, what's your purpose, and then you end up employing people that also share that. I think Patagonia is a really cliched but a great example of it. People are really passionate who work there. Another brand I love is Finisterre. Like everyone who works there is like loves surfing, loves the sea. So even if you go into their shop, you still get that kind of passion that comes through, and it makes such a difference. And it's probably reason, why you'd invest more money in their clothes or you'd come back and purchase from them. And they don't do like Black Friday sales or anything like that. They're kind of, because they've got such a strong brand.
It goes through to how they would sell it as well, doesn't it? And the knowledge of why people would buy it, especially. Whatever. Interesting. You could say that with any business, I'm sure.
And I think for myself, I've experienced it with my brand. Like I don't have to do a lot of like hard like selling and that type of thing. I just have, people will find me online and they'll just go like, oh wow, I've just really resonated with your website, and there's so many designers and branding people out there, but I suppose you want to show that how you're different, and then they connect with it. And then once they've sent that inquiry, it's almost like the initial chat is effortless, and it's just about like and you can feel the energy. And I feel like that's an example to me of building a strong brand, is that you don't have to forcefully sell it. People find you, and obviously you need some SEO, so they find you online. But they want to like invest in your brand and they want to find out more. I think it makes things a lot more effortless, and especially if you're more like maybe more of an introverted business owner or that type of thing. There's lots of things that you can do to draw people in organically, and having a strong brand gives you the confidence in that.
Do you have any tips for a business looking to improve their brand, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, just take a step back. So things that I would say is, like my favourite thing to do is like 4 personality words to describe your brand. So come up with 4 words that would describe your brand. You know, is it like cheeky, passionate, I don't know, sustainable, you know, those things. And then write those 4 words down and then look at your branding or marketing at the moment, and are they reflected? Are they kind of conveying those words? So if you're calm, you know, calm, mindful, that type of thing, and you've got like, you're shouting all the time on social media, there's a disconnect there. So I think that's a really nice little exercise just to see, okay, is this reflecting it? And look at ways that you can maybe rebrand potentially or improve that. But maybe mostly coming back to that and your purpose and your why of why you're actually doing it. And get outside and think about it. Go for a walk. Go for a walk. Go in nature.
And if someone's looking to be more sustainable, would you have any advice for how they go about doing that?
I mean, it's massive, but I think you can look at your quick things to do and look at your suppliers. So your energy, if you're getting stuff printed, you know, who's your like my what's it called, hosting company. You know, you can make your banking, those things. So your pension, all that type of stuff they're really, really quick changes that you can easily make. But then overall, I'm a big passionate believer in like circular business. So instead of thinking of yourself as like, oh, okay, I just exist, how can you link up with the community? There is, I think did you have Kickback Coffee on? Oh, I don't know if you've had them on, but they're over there locally, and they, you know, like they link up with, like, they might give their coffee beans to a grower. And, you know, I love things like that. So it's how you can get involved with other local businesses and share. Share, if you've got waste, can you like reuse that in a way? Like printers, can you take the paper to an art school that can reuse it and the kids can draw on it and that type of thing? So looking at that area. So suppliers, what you're doing, kind of, how can you be a little bit more circular instead of stuff kind of going in? And I think challenge the idea that you've got to grow massively, because growth isn't always the best thing. Can you grow in a different way? So do you need to more? Is that what you need? Or actually, can you be a bit more mindful about it and grow? I think that's the main thing, like purpose over profit, you know, so it's not all about profit, but really thinking about your impact on the planet and the world. I
think like if you think about profit, it becomes harder to get. Often if you do the right things more often, then profit looks after itself, maybe.
And if you are making profit, you know, can you donate it to you know, a charity, or can you do anything like that? I mean, carbon offsetting has got a bit of a negative thing now, because I think the guy from Brewdog just bought up loads of forests in Scotland just to say that he's carbon you know, so I think the whole the sustainability side has become a little bit corporate greenwashing and this type of thing. So it is a bit more difficult for businesses to do that. So I think, just prove, like, what it's actions. So like, what can you do? How can you help your local community? You know, what can you do? What can you show that you're doing? And you're not just doing it for ticking a box. I think that's the main thing. Like, protect the planet because we care about it and we want to be more sustainable and we want our world to be a better place to live in. And don't just do it just because, like, oh yeah, I'm ticking this box. To do it.
Lots of thinking. You know, obviously I set this up so business owners could talk about themselves and the business and what's important to them. That obviously comes across clearly from everything you say. If someone was in your position a few years back, before you set it up, and had an idea to set up a business, you know, would you have any advice for those kind of people? That's a big question. But
I think my main advice is really think about your brand, because for me that's been the most powerful thing, is having a really strong brand. I think it's helped so much and it's given me a lot more confidence. So it's I think having a bit of a thought before setting it up, like, you know, what do you want to stand for? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Because then you're not crafting a business that in 5 years you're going to hate. So I think if you do a bit of that thinking at the start, and thinking about your brand, because that will help you stand out from other people.
Yeah.
So if there's loads of people doing what you're doing, your brand, it's like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it and how you present it.
Sure.
So I think those things are very, very, very helpful.
You need to be proud of it if it shows, don't you?
Yeah. And if you're a one-person business owner, you think it's just you, but if you've got a brand, it feels bigger, and you feel kind of more confident. And community, I think community is amazing. So as much as you can get involved in your community and give back, I've found just doing stuff, you don't even know where it'll come from. But if people ask you to help with something, or can you do a talk, or can you, if someone emails me for like work experience, I always like make an effort to get back to them and treat people kindly, and do that. Spread the love a bit when you started it.
Amazing. Did you see any challenges coming up in terms of the branding world, or for you personally?
Yes. So there's things like Canva that came along, so people could just go on there and get a logo. And obviously we've got AI. But I personally, I feel a bit sick when I see stuff from AI. I can tell it's been done by AI. I can see when people have used AI copy. So I think that people are a little bit scared about AI. It can be empowering. I think for bigger agencies, you can come up with a concept and show a client that really well. You can use AI for research. So it's not like, there's good pluses and minuses. But I think that might be a challenge if people can just go and get a logo from AI. But also I think there's a positive, because then if you invest in your brand, then actually you're going to stand out from that person that's done that. I think budget-wise, you can tell this country in the past couple of years, definitely small businesses are struggling massively with everything going up. So I think branding and marketing and those type of things are unfortunately the first thing that people go, oh, I'm not going to spend on those.
The first things that get cut, aren't they?
Definitely. But I've looked at, so I have some semi-custom things now. So, if people can't afford a full brand, I've looked at ways of how they could maybe have a more affordable way where it's semi-customized as opposed to like a whole package. And I've bought in like, where they can just work with me for a day, or we can just do a workshop. So I think, you've just got to look at ways of what do people need now, and if they haven't got a massive budget at the moment to go for the full branding, what can you give them in the meantime, or that type of thing. So I think it's just adapting to the challenges and not being scared, because I remember AI, everyone's absolutely terrified by it. I'm like, it's not really as massive as it's like, everyone's like really scared about it. I don't think I've seen a massive impact from it, because I think ultimately people still need a human mind, and they need creativity to kind of come up with those initial ideas.
That's it. It's I would say it's finding the solution that's best for them. Which is something that doesn't happen from AI. You can be really good with the commands you give it, and it gives you something really good. But is that what would be best for you? It's what you think might be good for you, but that's why you bring in experts to do it.
And I think my whole business is about being a craft. So I don't want someone who just wants to sort of have a throwaway brand. I think it's a bit like, I want to be that, that piece of furniture that's been handcrafted and carved, and someone wants to keep it for 10 years, and there's a lot of love that's gone into it, as opposed to something that's been, bought in, really cheap furniture shop that's been made in China, mass produced. And I think that's the thing. It's just knowing what you're about, and not trying to. I'm not trying to chase after those people. It's those people that really appreciate something. So I don't think they would be wanting an AI formed logo or anything like that.
No, I mean, obviously it's good for lots of things. I think AI's been around for years and years and years, but it's only now really that it's really become a household thing. And obviously there's different levels of AI as well, whether it's machine learning or they call it neuro something or other, higher level. But I think that pursuing something you love doing and the value from that is something that is very different. A picture that's been painted or drawn by someone is probably more valuable than something that's been machine created. And I think we all have to kind of adjust our thinking with that. That's just me on a monologue about that. So you mentioned briefly just then about how ways that people can work with you, and you want to go into a bit more detail about that and and ways in which you work with clients?
Yeah, so either I work one-on-one with a client or a business, and we do full branding, so everything from the strategy at the start, the workshop Art in Nature, tone of voice, visuals, all that type of stuff, and then the purpose and that type of thing, and then website and everything. And I bring in collaborators as well, so I have like a team of freelancers that work with me on projects. But then I also have sort of more affordable options, so people can book me for a day, or we can just do a workshop. And then I have some design products where people can buy like illustrations and website templates and things. That's kind of a newer thing that I've been developing, just so a bit more affordable, because I have quite a lot of people sign up to my email list. So I have like a newsletter and a little like email course. So actually, if you're struggling with your brand, I've got like a 5-day email course that just gets you thinking. So if you're thinking like, I'm not sure about my brand, I feel disconnected from it. Is it good? I do have a few little prompts. And that's just, some people have emailed me like, this has really helped me, that type of thing. So
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then I have a course as well, a brand builder course, which is again, I think I created this in lockdown. What I do with the clients, I've made it into a course so that you can do it yourself, like a DIY version of it. So these have been, I suppose I've got 2 strands. It's like, if you've got the budget to invest and you want to work one-on-one, and then I've got this other area where it's more people who are starting out and maybe are not at that level yet. So how can I help them a little bit, and what tools can I give them? And because a brand is not just for the people who've got a big budget and a big business. I want everyone to, have some help with that type of thing. So
In my head, I thought you were going to say brand's not just for Christmas. But
no.
Definitely
not for Christmas.
Well, it's funny actually when talking about branding and Christmas, because it's a huge thing in terms of branding. And there was a thing about Coca-Cola recently that they sold most of their drinks during the summer periods, and they were like, so how do we, become the kind of winter drink? And it was all around the Christmas, and they're advertising around that, and it's a really fascinating subject actually, which I don't have any ending or direction where I'm going with that, but I'll look it up.
I think the main thing is, I always say to people like, what have you bought recently that you've loved? And what brand, like, why do you buy that thing? And then then you understand, okay, it's not really, I really love that brand, and you'll start to notice, okay, I'm buying that. And the brand is all about how it makes people feel something, and that's the big thing. It's like an emotional connection. And egoically wise, we want to we buy brands to make us feel that represent part of us in some way. So, I try and buy like sustainable products, and I try and buy from independent owners, and I look at where they source stuff from. So when I suppose I love brands, so I'm kind of make more of an effort with that type of thing. But it's like a coffee shop, like I wouldn't, I'd be trying to go to the one that speaks to me as opposed to like a Costa Coffee or something like that. And it's just thinking about like why are you connected with places and why you choose certain brands. Like if you love big brands, you might be going to like Starbucks because you really love something about that brand, that type of thing. So I think it's really interesting exercise to do as a business owner, is just to take a step back and think, okay, who have I bought from recently, and what did their brand do to make me do that? And learn from it, like not copy them, but you can start to sort of see, okay, I really like that approach. I'm going to, I like the way that they did this, and that's a really cool way of branding something. Yeah.
So what does the future hold for Creative Wilderness?
Well, I have a camper van, and I haven't worked remotely. I have gone a few days in it, but I would love to go on an extended sort of trip to Europe and work remotely and see how that works, if that can be done, which I think it can be done, because I am pretty remote. I think I really love doing the workshops in nature with people, and sort of starting that out with a project. So it's to do more of those things. And look at developing a few more like semi-custom options. So, because I think when I'm working one-on-one with people, I obviously have limited capacity for that and that type of thing. And I have made an intentional decision to be a company of one. I don't know if you've read that book, but that's Company of One. It's a really fascinating book. It doesn't mean it's just you. You can have freelancers and that type of thing. I don't have a vision of growing a big agency. That's very much not my vision. I'm about freedom in my lifestyle, so I do want to be able to go away in my camper van. So I think I'm very much an organic business owner. I kind of don't know how it's probably a different approach to a lot of people, but I go on like intuition or like, you know, oh, this has piqued my interest, this has done this. So I think I'm very open to see what happens. But for the short term, it's those are probably the plans at the moment. Yeah.
I think I always thought working remotely is a great way to live if you can do it that way.
Yeah. I don't know what the Wi-Fi. I think you can get Wi-Fi things now for your camper van. That sort of thing. So I mean, I'm all set up. Everything's online. Like I do on my phone call. Like I don't really meet in person that much. And most people find me online. So I work with people all around the world. So it's definitely. I was remote before COVID even, because I used to work with people. I've worked with people in like Canada and Australia, and so we just used to do Zooms before Zoom was a thing. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely, I'll share that when I manage to do it.
Good, yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
It's been a joy.
Good luck with the camper van and all that.
Thank you.
And